Again.
Let's make a special L'chaim for Linda, Rebecca, Linda Rivka, and Susan. Neshama Shirav and Aliyah.
Amen.
L'chaim.
Amen.
So, I want to share with you a story that I don't think anyone here knows. I don't think anyone here knows. The story takes us back it takes us back around 17 years ago. 17 years ago. If you know the area over here, down the block, there is just one block south of Miami Gardens on Dixie Highway, right across from what's now Pizza Hut Express, right across from there. There's a body shop called Sun's Auto Body, right? You know Sun's. Okay, so Sun's Auto Body.
Oh, that one.
Huh? There used to be a guy there. His name was Jerry. He used to work there. You remember Jerry? Remember Jerry? Okay, so Jerry Marks, right? That was his name? Okay, so I'm not making up any of this. Jerry Marks was his name. I used to visit Jerry. I used to visit a lot of people. In my old days, they used to have time. I used to visit a lot of people, right? They used to have more time. And then things happen, things catch up on you and you don't have time anymore. Now so when? Did I know you? No. This was 17 years ago. I know you? Summer of 97. What is that?
29 years.
No, summer of 97. 24 years. 24 years. 24 years. Wow.
Not plus.
Thanks. Another 24 years. Good help.
Amen.
So I used to go. Now, Jerry wasn't religious, and he didn't want to put on tefillin, but he used to always like he wants to put other people in the office would put on tefillin. He didn't want to put on tefillin, but he liked to share a nice word about Shabbat, and he used to have a good word. And Jerry wasn't there one day. I knew Jerry was going through some serious illness, and his brother is there instead. So I said, "Fred, what's going on with Jerry?" She says the doctor gave him 3 weeks left. They even sent him home. He was in the hospital this week, and they sent him home. So I said, maybe I should touch base with him. He says, "No, he's not religious. His wife's not Jewish. Don't worry about it. Forget about it." I said, "Freddie, do me a favor. Give Jerry my number. If Jerry wants, he'll be able to contact me. Give him my cell number." This is a Friday. Sunday, I get a phone call. I remember exactly where I was. I was driving south on US 1, right over here. I was about to make a left into Marshall's. Tell you where I was going. Remember exactly where I was going. My wife was in the car, and she was pregnant with Mendel. That's how I remember it was 17 years ago. She was pregnant with my son. We were pregnant with my son Mendel, so I remember it was 17 years ago. And so she was pregnant with him. Pregnant with him.
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, so Hirschel was also still in the belly. And I remember him saying, "Rabbi, I need to speak to you." So what's the matter? He says, I need you to make me do my final arrangements. Okay, when could I come over? He says, "I don't know. My grandchildren are over and I'm Jewish and I'm in pajamas right now." And I said, "Jerry, I'm not afraid of pajamas. I'm not afraid of your grandchildren." I said, "Okay, come right over." I went straight over to his house, and he said, "I want to know if you could speak loud at the funeral because my mother is hard of hearing." You knew his mother? Hindela, his mother was. I did his mother's funeral also a few years later. His mother's funeral. Anyway, so I just met someone last week. They told me they knew his mother very well. Anyway, so Don't worry about it. All right, it's okay. Don't worry about it. So he says, my mother's hard of hearing. I want you to speak loud at my funeral. I say, okay, but I hope it doesn't happen for a long time. And then he says, I want to know if I could be buried. I have 2 pictures I want to be buried with. I want to know if you can bury me with these 2 pictures. Okay, let me see what they are. Let me see. It says one is from his bar mitzvah that he didn't have. He had a picture of him as a 12-year-old boy with, one of the scarf talits. And it was a pose for his bar mitzvah, but he was kicked out of Hebrew school, so he never had his bar mitzvah. So he wants to know, he says when he goes upstairs, he wants to have that as a witness why he wasn't religious, because he was kicked out. He wants to be buried with that picture. That was number 1. I said, Jerry, we're going to make up our mitzvah for you right now. We're going to put on tefillin, we're going to make up our mitzvah. And we did. We put on tefillin, and we made our mitzvah. Right here is the tefillin that we used, my witness. We put on tefillin right here, and we made up our mitzvah. He says the Shema, huh? What was the second photo? Second. He said the Shema, and he was crying. It was a very special time. Very emotional. I said, Jerry, what's the second picture? He says it's a picture of my rabbi. I thought I was his rabbi.
Rabbi.
But it wasn't the picture. You hear me, Tal? I say, I want to see the picture of your rabbi. He goes to his room and he brings out a picture of the Rebbe. So I said, cool, he's my rabbi also. And I take out my phone, I show him a picture of my phone. I said, a picture of my bar mitzvah by the Rebbe. So he says, he's your rabbi also? He's my rabbi. He's your rabbi? I said, yeah, he's my rabbi. What do you mean? He's the whole world's rabbi. What do you mean? And he said, he's famous? I said, Jerry, what do you mean all these years? Of course, he's the most famous rabbi. She says, wow. I said, I realized something was wrong. I said, where'd you get the picture? He hasn't been in touch. He was married to the daughter of the Italian mafia boss in Brooklyn. Another whole story. And he was completely away from anything Jewish. And he says, he has what I'm getting by. He says, my friend, I have a friend. I got from this flower shop on Collins Avenue, Antonio's flower shop on Collins Avenue, and the picture was over there. And every time I walked into the store, the picture was talking to me, he says. And he says, I asked them if I can have the pictures. And they said, sure. And they gave me the picture of the Rebbe. And he says that when he keeps it in front of him, and when he's in pain, he looks at the picture, and that soothes him. This is what he told me. And he's afraid of dying, he told me, and that's why he wants to be buried with the picture of the Rebbe. That's what he told me. This story's not over. Hang on. So and so he was afterwards. He was crying about his life, certain things he did. And I said, Jerry, you're preaching to the choir. I said, how's about? I said, we have programs in Crop High School. I said, how's about we bring the boys from Crop and you tell them who you should marry, who's the person you should marry, and what mistakes you shouldn't make. He says, okay. And we would bring over groups of kids from Crop High School. Remember Corey? Remember Corey? Corey, a bunch of other kids. Whatever. Anyway, we used to go over to his house Sundays, and we would put on tefillin with him, and he would tell them his story, and he would tell them how careful they have to be to marry someone who's Jewish, etc. Every Sunday we would go. The Friday, of course, one Friday, they call me up, they say it's imminent, I should come right over. And I come over and we put on tefillin. He said the Rebbe's kapitel of tefillin, and I promised him as again that we're gonna take the picture. Okay, it's another whole story of what happened to the picture. I wound up having to put my picture because we had to change the funeral plans. Another whole story. But fast forward a couple of years, and where's Daniel? Daniel, it was Daniel's bar mitzvah. Daniel, your bar mitzvah was in the backyard, right? In the backyard. Remember? Remember the tent? Remember the tent in the backyard? You remember the tent there? It was beautiful. We had chandelier there. We had air conditioning. And Marcel is setting up Friday with these beautiful flowers.
And Thursday.
And Thursday with the beautiful flowers. I remember those flowers had these little water beads.
Right.
The water beads. They just came out, the water beads. And the most gorgeous flowers. Remember that? Most gorgeous flowers. And she's setting up together with Linda. Setting up. So I asked Marcel, I don't know if you remember, I asked you, where'd you get these flowers? They're gorgeous. And he said, my sister has a flower shop. What do you don't know? Antonio's on College Avenue. I say, I never used to have a flower shop. Huh? Okay, so I go over to Linda. I say, Linda, I have a story for you. And I tell her about the story. I tell her about the story. So of course she remembers Jerry. First she did, I said, Jerry. And I said, oh, he passed away, Rich. And she remembered the whole story. And she's the one that gave Jerry the picture of the Rebbe. And this is the picture that he held near to him. And this is what every Satan said when he said painkillers wouldn't help. You will look at a picture of them, and that's what will suit them. And next Sunday is the Hilula. This Sunday is Linda's yard side. Next Sunday is the Rebbe's time. Interesting way to go through the Rebbe.
And Mashiach when?
Multi-thing.
Mashiach now.